Have you ever wondered what it would be like to grow up on camera where every detail of your life was filmed and posted for millions of people as a kid? Shari Franke, eldest daughter of YouTube mommy vlogger turned convicted abuser Ruby Franke, has come forward to absolutely and deservedly drag for filth the horrible, unregulated, forced child labor that is the often exploitative world of family vlogging and slam her mother's obsession with fame and money that ultimately led to Ruby's arrest. So many of you probably remember in late 2023, Utah-based mommy vlogger Ruby Franke and her business partner Jodi were arrested after Ruby's 12-year-old son escaped Jodi's house and ran to a neighbor's house looking for food and water with the most awful, obvious evidence that he had been terribly harmed. The police also found Ruby's 9-year-old daughter held captive at Jodi's house under the same just disgusting conditions and uncovered a truly dark and twisted case. Oh, hi, hello, it's Swoop, and welcome to the dark waters of the Suspool, the place where everything and everyone is sus, maybe even us. Come on in, the water's fine. I'm between maybe even us or is it us? I don't know which one. Welcome back, Suspirians. Today, we are covering a very important update to a story that I've covered in depth on my main channel, but from kind of a different angle today. Today, we're pulling back the curtain inside the very troublesome, often exploitative world of child influencers. I use that in quotes because that's not what yeah, we'll talk about that. But this has all been exposed recently by a former child who was made to be an influencer by her own mother. And now that Shari Franke has spoken to senators, I think it's important to amplify these stories and continue to provide support for anyone who speaks out in case it empowers like other children or family vloggers to share their experience, whether it's positive or negative, because there's just so much around this world of family vlogging and the chaos that is not understood, it's not regulated, and it's caused a lot of problems. Now, hi, if you're new here, welcome to my second channel. On my main channel, Swoop, I do full-length deep dives, and over here, we don't go deep, we dip. We dip into the dark waters of the Suspool. Often the stories are very unhinged, so, you know, welcome to the chaos. If you're interested in dipping into mind-bending, dark, often unhinged stories, subscribe to this channel, bring a towel, tell your friends, and go ahead and send the like button some flowers with a note that says, "Meet me behind the bleachers." Ooh. It's like Mr. Ballin, but way cuter. Also, if you ever want one of these stories we talk about here expanded into a full-length deep dive on my main channel, kindly let me know in the comments, okay? Don't make it weird. I don't know why, but some folks made it a little weird last time and started getting a little demanding. We don't deep dive here, okay? That's for the main channel, okay? Cool? I appreciate you all, thank you. Okay, we're gonna dip in, but I gotta ask, is it wild to anyone else that this year is almost over? Well, as the holidays sneak up on us, it is time to ditch the cliche gifts. I have got something thoughtful and a grooming game changer all in one. I am talking about the massive Manscaped Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. So a huge thank you to them for sponsoring this video. If you've been looking for ways to say I love you without having to say, please, for the love of all things, please trim those nose hairs and clean up those hair clippings yourself, then this grooming package does all the talking. Thank me later. This is like obscene how much is in this package. Your partner, your friend, your brother, your son, they're going to love this. So first up, it includes the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, which not only is the greatest name ever, but it is a grooming powerhouse. It comes with 2 interchangeable skin-safe blade heads, which are both incredible, okay? Your special someone can now groom with confidence knowing that skin-safe technology is hard at work to help reduce nicks and cuts. And can we talk about the upgraded LED spotlight? This is a game changer, lighting up those hard-to-reach areas, ensuring a precise shave every time. And we gotta talk about versatility. The lawnmower is waterproof, meaning it works for both wet and dry grooming. Who doesn't love options? It's got a fast charging USB-C port, and the battery provides up to 60 long minutes of grooming on a single charge. Who do they think they are? And you thought you were done? Lock in, honey, we ain't even close. This kit also includes the Weed Whacker 2.0 ear and nose hair trimmer, the gift that keeps on trimming, which has the same skin-safe technology and is also waterproof. Seriously, when I said thank me later, that's because you ain't never gonna see those nasty nose hairs all over the sink anymore, okay? There's also the Crop Soother Ball Aftershave Lotion. Yes, I said balls. It's dermatologist tested, alcohol-free, and perfect for soothing razor burn. And for the finishing touch, the crop preserver gives quick absorbing protection with soothing aloe vera. And child, it is a holiday miracle because this package also comes with 2 free gifts. Your gift receiver gets the Boxers 2.0, which come with the jewel pouch. Yes, I love that I am showing these right now. And the Shed Travel Bag 2.0 to hold all of their new grooming goodies. Seriously, they are going to erect a statue in your honor with the title Greatest Gift Giver Ever. Give the gift that truly keeps on giving. Don't wait. Head to manscaped.com and use my promo code SWOOP to get 20% off plus free international shipping at checkout. That is such an incredible deal for all these goodies. So tap my link below and use code SWOOP to get 20% off plus free shipping. Treat yourself and your special someone because you deserve it, honey. Okay, let's dip into the cesspool. So to recap, Ruby Franke's now deleted YouTube channel 8 Passengers followed the lives of her family of 6 children and often featured her strict, often militant parenting style, with many of her punishments causing viewers to worry for the safety of the kids. So let's read something from the cult here. Allegations that Franke was abusing her children circulated widely in 2020 when Ruby's son revealed that he'd had his bedroom taken away for playing pranks on his brother and had been sleeping on a beanbag chair for 7 months as punishment. Some videos show Franke penalizing her kids by withholding food. Others show her threatening them with losing the privilege of eating dinner and arguing that her 6-year-old daughter should go hungry because she forgot to bring her packed lunch to school. I remember that. Oh man, I remember watching that and it was just so upsetting to see what Ruby Franke was doing to these kids, to do things like withholding food where like literally food is a privilege. It is. Food is a privilege. Hunger is a massive global problem. And seeing her just withhold it from her own kids to like prove some lesson as if, you know, like a 6-year-old can understand these lessons was just so troublesome to watch. Let's continue reading. In 2020, thousands of 8 Passengers viewers signed an online petition calling for an investigation into Franke, prompting a Child Protective Services visit. Business Insider reports the case was closed because the claims were unsupported. So while this was happening, like Ruby posted less and less on 8 Passengers, eventually joining forces with Jodi Hildebrandt, an absolutely dreadful woman who has harmed countless families, who was a therapist with a suspended license. And together they grew Connections, which was basically like this online community where they would, you know, they would discuss like mental health, faith, and ironically, parenting advice. Now, this is literally the perfect example, we talk about this, right, of why they say just because it's on the internet doesn't make it true. They're giving this parenting advice. All this stuff is happening behind the scenes. So just because they're saying something is happening one way or should be done one way doesn't mean that that's what's happening. And so as Ruby and Jodi filmed their parenting videos from Jodi's home, 2 of Ruby's children were being held against their will in that same home, like literally just like essentially down the hall, which was just absolutely bone-chillingly evil. I'm not going to get into the details of everything that happened, but yeah, just the worst.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help, and he's said he just came from a neighbor's house, and we know there's been problems at this neighbor's house.
After Ruby and Jodi's arrest, the 2 women first tried to spin the story to say that Ruby's children were possessed and that they were trying to perform exorcisms, like that kind of vibe. These women were the absolute worst. But justice of sorts, you know, at least legally, finally caught up to them when they finally pled guilty to 4 counts of CA, where CBS News reports Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt sentenced up to 30 years in prison in CA case. Now, if you want to hear more about everything that went down with Ruby Franke's case, we get into some more of the details and highlight the victims because they should always be highlighted in these stories. They are the most important things. I do have, again, a 3-part series on my main channel, and there are several excellent documentaries and other creators doing documentaries who have covered the story. Jay Aubrey is one. I think he's fantastic, so you can check out his series for one. And yeah, there's a lot of information out there if you're interested. So while Ruby's heinous crimes have garnered a lot of media attention, something that didn't get as much attention, and I think honestly deserves a lot more attention, is Shari Franke, Ruby's eldest child, who has been very outspoken about things, with what she's comfortable with, and has shared quite a number of things about her experiences and was fighting for her family for a very long time. And as a result, people were trying to get more attention to that, to bring more support to everything that was going on. And it's tough, right? The news is going to report so much on the crimes. That is the terrifying things, and that's what most people tend to focus on. And then you've got people who are directly affected and victims of this, who are also posting and sharing on social to get the word out, and it doesn't get nearly as much attention from the news media as the actual crimes. Now, Shari has recently very bravely spoken out once again to shed light on another issue that is directly related, that has plagued her family and many, many others: family vlogging. The issue of family vlogging. We've talked about that a lot on my main channel. Now, this young woman recently made history as presumably the first, or one of the first ever victims of, this family vlogging phenomenon, for lack of a better word, when she spoke to Utah senators, absolutely slamming the family vlog channels. So we're going to take a look at that.
For having me today. My name is Shari Franke. My mother, Ruby Franke, is a prominent family vlogger that was arrested last year for child abuse. I don't come today as the daughter of a felon, nor as a victim of an abnormally abusive mother. I come today as a victim of family vlogging. Number one,
can we just take a moment for how brave this is? I can't even, the strength that this must have taken, it's kind of next level. This is so important what she's doing. And notice that she makes the distinction. She's saying she's not here as a victim of, what her mother did. She's literally specifically here to talk about family vlogging.
My goal is not to present any idea of a solution to this problem, but to shed light on the ethical and monetary issues that come from being a child influencer.
So again, she refers to it as being a child influencer. And I think it's also important that she states up very front, my goal here isn't to produce or to come up with a solution. And I think that is a really poignant way of kind of underscoring that she's here to get this conversation going, to have us having these conversations, right? To have officials looking at this and having these conversations and trying to work to find some type of solution here.
When children become stars in their family's online content, they become child influencers. It is more than just filming your family life and putting it online. It is a full-time job with employees, business credit cards, managers, and marketing strategies.
That's really, really important. Again, we're getting insights here. These are things that people like me who have just been covering this stories like this. We talk about these things, but hearing it directly from someone who was living in it, talking about it's not just the kids in the family. There's managers, accountants. There's all of these different elements to the business. There's company credit cards. There's probably LLCs or corporations of some sort. And there's assets. There could be trusts for the business. There's so many facets of things that go into family vlogging, especially of this magnitude, that I think the general public isn't thinking about. This is a business with paid actors, if you will, except that that's their kids.
The difference between family vlogging and a normal business, however, is that all the children are employees. Children from before they are born to the day they turn 18 have become the stars of family businesses on YouTube, Instagram, and other social media platforms. Utah is specifically a hotspot for family content due to the LDS culture around family and the goal to share the church with the world.
And that's, again, really important that she's making that distinction, number one, because, it's very clear, right? Utah, the LDS faith, had a major role in this story, in her story specifically, but in so many stories. And it is the hotspot. It is a place that is just kind of running rampant because of, principles in the faith and having many, many kids. And this is a way to monetize that. And then we get the Jodi Hildebrands who exploit that to the most horrifying degrees. Again, I've always said, and I'll always maintain, that no one in a faith is a monolith, and that there are obviously people who practice their faith. They have the right to practice their faith, whether that's a faith that I practice or you practice or not. People have that right and should have that right. And there are people who are doing it in a healthy way, in a responsible way, and a respectful way, and something that contributes to society. And then there are people like Ruby and Jodi.
We also have large families, which makes family content more lucrative. Specifically, many parents film their regular family life as an online video blog called a vlog. But I want to be clear that there is never, ever a good reason for posting your children online for money or fame. There is no such thing as a moral or ethical family vlogger.
That's a really firm stance that she's taking there. And obviously, right, not that I can put myself in her shoes, but if I was even to try to imagine that, which is just horrifying, she's taking a very firm stance saying that there's no ethical way. There is no ethical way to post your family, your kids online. I know a lot of people are going to have different opinions about that, and we can respectfully talk about that. But that's a very firm stance to take. I just want to point out one thing here. YouTube was invented in 2005, so vlogging itself is only 19 years old. Ruby Franke's YouTube channel was started in 2015, almost 10 years ago. And Shari Franke is, I believe, 21 as of right now. So more than half of Shari's life has been spent in front of the camera. And for her younger siblings, it's been their entire lives. This is one of those things where, like, you don't know unless you know. You know what I mean? You can try to imagine what is that like being in front of camera. You know, I can imagine being in front of camera because I put myself in front of camera, but you know, that wasn't something that was happening since I was born. So there's only so much you can relate to, right? And because they were kids when this was happening, technically speaking, they could not consent to being on camera. You know, there's a lot of questions about consent and children and their guardians. It's a mess of a situation. So it was left up to the discretion of the parents. In a lot of ways, Shari is one of the first people of this kind of new generation of vlog kids to grow up in front of the camera, where she then kind of like ages out, so to speak, and has been fighting for her own autonomy, and then starts to unpack that experience and take a step back and say, hey, there's a lot wrong with the world of family vlogging. So she's one of the first to speak out, but I do have a hunch that her words will kick off a firestorm around family vlogging. Like, we've seen former child stars from, you know, Hollywood movies and TV shows come forward and talk about, you know, like the lack of protection they had growing up on set. But what about those kids where the set was their literal home and the characters they are playing are literally themselves? They're not playing characters, but it's like they're being framed as if they are. Ruby Franke was in no way moral or ethical. I mean, in my opinion, she's a complete soulless monster, and that goes for Jodi Hildebrandt, who is Jodi. One thing we know for sure is that family vlogging can be incredibly lucrative. And when money is the main motivation for putting your kids online, well, let's hear what Shari has to say about that.
At first, family vlogging is an alluring business that can bring high revenue. For my family, it became the primary source of income, as is often the case with most full-time family vloggers. Many child influencers are paid for their work, as I was, and this money has helped me in my adult life.
And there's a thing that I've always thought about, is that the kids are, in a way, getting paid, right? Or at least, obviously, she's saying in her situation, and I imagine other kids as well, they're getting paid. It might not be in the form of money. We have to remember payments can come by other means. They can come through incentives and trips and gifts and toys, but they are getting paid. And then I wonder, I've always had the concern when people think about, well, the kids are getting all these free nice things, they should be happy. And again, these kids are put in this position of working this job that they didn't sign up for. They didn't audition for this role. They didn't interview for this job. They literally were born. That was their interview, just being born, and automatically they got the gig. And then I worry about people being like, well, you should be grateful because you got all these cool things. Your family got all this money. And it's like, why should someone be grateful when they didn't sign up for this in the first place?
However, this payment was usually a bribe. For example, we'd be rewarded $100 or a shopping trip if we filmed a particularly embarrassing moment or an exciting event in our lives.
That's terrifying. Referring to it as a bribe is a great way to put it, and that's terrifying that if they just do these embarrassing moments, they'll get, a little $100 or, maybe a special trip or something. That's awful. That this really shows you the extent that Ruby Franke and Kevin Franke, because we didn't forget about him, it really shows the extent that they were going to forcing their kids to do this work and to be like, hey, we're going to put your most sensitive moments, your embarrassing moments on camera. But if you let us do it, we'll give you a lollipop to the 6-year-old. We'll give you $100. You can go to Disneyland.
Or other times, simply going on vacation was expected to be payment enough because most kids don't get to go on regular and expensive trips.
That's horrifying. Thinking about the way Ruby Franke and I would imagine other family vloggers, and I'm not saying they're all doing this, but weaponize things that are supposed to be nice family, innocent things in order to get content. I'm going to dangle this carrot in front of you. You can go to Disneyland, but you, small girl, gotta, talk about getting your period on camera for millions of people to see and for preds to watch, or shaving your legs or something, or crying because, you broke up with your first boyfriend and now everyone's got to watch it, but you can get a trip to Disneyland. And that just, I would imagine, again, I'm not trying to speak for anyone here, but I could just imagine thinking about that, how that could ruin those types of experiences that are supposed to be happy, permanently for someone. Looking at something like a trip to Disney or a trip to the movies or, a nice dinner at a fancy restaurant, when it's been used as a bribe for you as a kid, how could that not then potentially ruin those experiences as an adult when you just want to have those experiences for yourself, or maybe if they have kids, for their own children, and not have that association, that negative association with it.
Never mind the fact that the child's labor is actually what paid for the vacation or trip.
Boom, that part.
There is no law in place to guarantee that child influencers get any money from their work. If a family account does not become an LLC, parents are taxed heavily for paying their children. But parents also receive tax write-offs for the regular clothes that they wear, the gas money used to drive places, and even the houses they live in.
There's that business, that LLC.
Anything that is filmed can be written off. Mm-hmm. And even after registering their business as an LLC, there is no guarantee that children will get paid.
That's the thing. You have these LLCs. You're supposed to, there's a lot of, the way that businesses are structured and taxes and all that kind of thing. You have it, it's a corporation, right? It's a corporation, limited liability company, depending on how they decide to have it taxed, will determine, how many employees they have. And employees are supposed to be employees. And there are supposed to be, labor protections in place. There's payroll. There's all of these different types of things. I'm almost wondering, did somebody look into the business as well to see if that was even done correctly or if there was something going on there?
Any payment that does happen is under the table with no paper trail. And how do we determine how much a child should make from appearing in family content? What price is worth giving up your childhood?
She's literally saying right there, any payment done was done under the table. So no, the business was not operating legally. Listen, the charges that they pled to are heinous enough, but I'm just kind of well, can you slap on some other charges that keep them in jail, in prison longer? The idea of child influencers, child creators, whatever label you want to put here, the idea of them being fairly compensated is shockingly still very new and not even in effect in most areas. Got this article pulled up. According to NBC Bay Area, parents will have to set aside some earnings for child influencers under new California laws. The laws entitle child influencers to a percentage of earnings based on how often they appear on video, blogs, or online content that generates at least 10 cents per view. The children could sue their parents for failing to do so. Children employed as content creators on platforms such as YouTube will also have at least 15% of their earnings deposited in a trust for when they turn 18. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. 15% that's wild. That's unhinged. That is unhinged in my opinion. If this is going to be a genre that continues to go on and if people figure out how to do it ethically and we're going to ask questions about that, 15% when the content is literally centered around these kids that you're turning into actors without them knowing that they're actors. If it weren't for the kids and the content, there would be no content, or people wouldn't be clicking in, or they wouldn't be clicking in for the same reason, right? People who watch this content want to see the family. They want to see the family dynamic. They want to see the kids learning and growing up and having their embarrassing moments filmed and all this stuff. I imagine, like, listen, I don't watch this type of content. So that's, kind of what I've ascertained as to why people have interest in this. But like, they want to see the youngins, and the youngins are only getting 15%. Let me know your thoughts. Maybe you have a completely different perspective here. And I enjoy having respectful discourse in the comments if you have a different opinion. Because like, again, people feel all kinds of ways. Maybe some of you guys watch family vlog content. Maybe you found family channels that you feel comfortable or safe, or like they're doing it a certain way that you think is okay. So, let us know in the comments. And again, like, if someone has a different opinion than you, can we just respect that people can have different opinions? Like, if someone has a different opinion from me, that means I have a different opinion from them. You know what I mean? It works both ways. So like, let's keep it cute, keep it respectful. Okay. Yeah, great. But so this wasn't signed into law until September 2024 and won't take effect until 2025. And I'm wondering, like, if Ruby Franke, if all of this hadn't happened, would this even happen? Would this have been signed into law? Yeah. And the thing is, the only other state with a similar law is Illinois. And like Sherri points out in her statement, Utah has one of the highest concentrations of family vloggers. So it begs the question, what should Utah do about this? What should every state do about this? Now, kids working in film and TV do have some protections, namely the Coogan law. You've probably heard me deep dive more about it on the main channel. But according to SAG-AFTRA, the Coogan law is named for famous child actor Jackie Coogan. Coogan was discovered in 1919 by Charlie Chaplin and soon after cast in the comedian's famous film The Kid. Jackie mania was in full force during the 1920s, spawning a wave of merchandise dedicated to his image. It wasn't until his 21st birthday, after the death of his father and the dwindling of his film career, that Jackie realized he was left with none of the earnings he had worked so hard for as a child. Imagine that. Under California law at the time, the earnings of the minor belonged solely to the parent. Sounds familiar. Coogan eventually sued his mother. That is so freaking sad. Y'all, all of this stuff is it's just sad. It's really sad that a kid would have to sue his mother. Sued his mother and former manager for his earnings. As a result, in 1939, the Coogan law was put into effect, presumably to protect future young actors from finding themselves in the same terrible situation that Jackie Coogan was left in. Unfortunately, the 1939 incarnation of the Coogan law was flawed, leaving open various loopholes and necessitating long-term court-sanctioned contracts for validation. Y'all, when they say there's nothing new under the sun, they really mean it. Like, this was 100 years before family vlogging, and it's basically the same old song and dance. But so then I ask, okay, well, what are the stipulations of Coogan's law today? We've got earnings by minors in the entertainment industry are the property of the minor, not their parent. Since a minor cannot legally control their own money, California law governs their earnings and creates a fiduciary relationship between the parent and the child. That still sounds like and get hairy. Fiduciary is supposed to mean you have the best interest of, like the client, like if you were to have a fiduciary financial advisor or banker, right? Does the parent always have the best interest of the child? This change in California law also requires that 15% of all minors' earnings must be set aside in a blocked trust account, commonly known as a Coogan account. So this law also requires work permits, mandated break times, and on-set teachers to cover like missed school days. But this applies again to film and TV sets, not the world of family vlogging. There's also the fact that, like, in theory, parents can basically read the script and decide to opt in or out of the content that the child actor even performs in, or their agent is making that decision for the kid, right? So it's still a very fuzzy kind of complex thing. But, you know, we're talking about family vlogging. Like, think about it. How often do you see potty training or bath time in movies or TV? Like, not often, right? That's not often in a film script. But in family vlogs, that is horrifyingly a staple of the genre. And to me, that's hella sus, okay? That belongs in the sus. That genre, we'll just throw that whole genre of those themes in the family vlogging content, that all goes in the Suspool. But I digress. So let's get back to Sherri. We always bring the focus back here to Sherri.
But despite any monetary payment children may receive, don't let this excuse the 24/7 labor that these children are subjected to.
Boom, 24/7 labor. How many of you who are like working for someone else are willing to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Probably none of you, right? None of you should be. It's one thing if it's your own company and you're working for yourself, right? Like I have certainly pulled many an overnight in my time as a business owner, and that's one thing because that's me doing it for my company, for myself, and I can make that decision for myself. It's not a healthy decision. Always, please don't work yourself into the ground. But even, you know, I have a production company. It's been my dream to build a production company. And thanks to all of you all being part of the community, I've been able to build this production company and it's continuing to build. And I don't require people who are part of my team in my production company to work 24/7. That would just be ridiculous. These kids don't have that option. They're in the house. The workplace, the office, is their bedroom. Think about that. Their office, where they have to clock in, except they never get to clock out, is in their bedroom, is in the bathroom, is in the kitchen, the living room.
As a child, I was fully aware that I was an employee. The business was successful when I was happy or when I shared my hardships with the world. Some of our most popular videos were when my eyebrow was accidentally waxed off and the whole world saw a crying teenager when I just wanted to mourn in private.
That's so heartbreaking. I'm just gonna let those words sit.
Or the time I was violently ill and got the leading role in the video that day.
She referred to it as the leading role. She was violently ill. And instead of her mom being a mom, her dad being a dad, the way you want parents to be, she was given the leading role that her mom wanted to film and exploit for content. This is such a beautifully articulated statement. It is so powerful and so impactful. I am so impressed by this young woman. I am so impressed by her. And again, even if she wasn't this articulate, I'd still be impressed with her.
My friends became scarce because dates were filmed and none of my friends wanted to be on camera.
That is so sad that these kids can't have friends, right? What friend wants to come over and be filmed, have a camera shoved in their face? What parent of those friends, assuming those parents are hopefully good parents, are willing to let their children go over to the known family vlogger's house where their children are going to be filmed without their permission?
The camera never stops, and there is no such thing as a break from filming. At the time, I tell you I had a choice in what was filmed, but I've come to learn that every child influencer, in a way, suffers from Stockholm Syndrome. Most child influencers would probably tell you they have full control over what is posted, but the reality is that their parents bribe and shame them into posting their most vulnerable moments. In fact, many child influencers may tell you that they enjoy their work because of the monetary perks they receive or the fun experiences that they can have. After all, what child would say no to a fun vacation or shopping spree if all they needed to do was film an embarrassing moment?
That is such a really insightful way for her to put that, and that these kids think that they're in control of what's being posted. But again, child brains, how on earth would they even know? And the reality is, I don't think that children and teenagers understand the concept of forever the way that adults do. And honestly, I don't even think adults really understand that concept either. I don't even know that the human brain is really designed to be able to understand the concept of forever, the concept that something goes on the internet, it's there forever. Kids don't understand what that means. Do you understand what that means? Do you actually understand what that means? We're so used to there being conclusions to, all these little things and stories in life, but that's a whole other thing.
As children, we do not understand the consequences of filming our lives and posting it for the world to see. We cannot give consent to our parents to post our lives. In any other context, it is understood that children cannot give consent, but for some reason, people think family vlogging is different. I did not realize the impact that filming as a child would have on me now. My social media became flooded with rumors to being called a baby birthing machine at the age of 13.
I'm not going to say anything. I just want to flag and highlight that.
All these things have stuck with me, and I will forever live between the ages of 13 to 17 in many of my viewers' minds.
That's another thing that, like, I just feel like we don't stop to think of all of those little micro nuances in these stories, all of those little details about these kids. For the people who consume this content, people who watch this content will forever look at them as these kids, even though they've grown up. But those moments of their lives are just going to be on the internet, and that's how people will see them. It's kind of like, being typecast, right? Like, I don't know, take some show like, like some of the characters in Mean Girls or something, or the characters in Friends. You just forever see that actor as that role.
In addition, stalk the internet, specifically seeking out child influencers. I promise you that the parents are aware of these and choose to post their children anyway.
Parents are aware of these preds and choose to post anyways. Sherri's account is absolutely heartbreaking, let's be real. Like, not only was she being forced on screen by her mother, but then being the target of online bullying because of her mother's choice to expose their family life. And like I mentioned before, Sherri is unique, right? Because she's one of, if not one of the first of a generation of, kids who've now grown up of the family vlogging world to speak out in this setting in front of government officials like this, right? And I firmly believe always understanding is the first step in the public, and officials starting to rectify the unregulated harm that family vlogging can cause. And yes, we understand Sherri's family is an extreme example. I certainly, my gosh, I hope there aren't other families going through what she had to survive, because it's a lot. Her mother is literally in prison for what she did. Literally in prison. And honestly, the way they structured the sentencing, it's very bizarre. Utah, the way that, I don't understand. Like, if this was handled in another state, I think the sentencing would have been a lot different and a lot longer. And she already could be potentially getting out within a year's time or so. We'll see what happens. But Sherri is pointing out the more subtle emotional harm and manipulation that went into her family vlogging experience. And surely she's not alone. Maybe not to those degrees. I hope not, but she's not alone, unfortunately. And I would imagine that, like, even family vloggers with, like, the best of intentions, they're out here trying to do the best possible version of this. I would think they still probably grapple with the issues of, keeping the kids safe versus giving the audience and the algorithm what it apparently wants with these family channels. And in terms of the online preds that specifically target family vloggers, there's so much to say about that. It's absolutely disgusting. I think that families should feel safe to share innocent moments with their kids without fear of them being targeted by preds. But at the same time, parents should be aware and proactive about the ways to keep their kids safe online. And it also kind of begs the question of, do platforms, have a responsibility to kind of be more diligent about spotting these sus accounts, the preds, and removing them? Is that something that they can do? How do you regulate that? Like, let me know what you think in the comments. Like, is that a fair crackdown on the terms of service? Or we do have to ask the tough questions that people often don't want to ask, the fair, tough questions for whatever reason, but we're here to do that. The other side of that counterpoint is that getting into a slippery slope of censorship? Is that crossing the lines of freedom of speech, at least, in this country? Very complicated. But again, we're not here to deep dive. We're just dipping. So back to it. Let's listen to the rest of Sherri's testimony.
I understand that this is a big issue to tackle, and I am not asking you to ban family vlogging, though that is my end goal. I also understand that as Utahns, we don't appreciate big government overreach. But when it comes to protecting children, it should be a bipartisan issue. The only people harmed by child influencer laws are the parents exploiting their children.
Very, very good point. That's a very good point, that the only people the laws hurt are the family, are the parents who are doing the exploiting. So why are we worried about hurting them legally? Very good point.
While this may not seem like an issue now, as child influencers in Utah continue to grow up, I foresee there will be legal crises, with these children realizing that vlogging has brought severe emotional distress, or these kids may realize they don't have an appropriate amount of money to show for their labor.
They could do all this work, be forced to do all this work and not have income when they get older, and this could affect their ability to get income. What happens when the employers, when the kids grow up and they're like, F off, mom, I'm out of here, and they go to get a job and that employer looks them up and finds all of this? What then?
But even despite a good paycheck, I want to be absolutely clear that there is no amount of money that can justify selling your soul as a child to the world.
Think about that with all these family vloggers.
In no other industry would we justify unregulated child labor with a huge paycheck, and we should not do that here. If I could go back and do it all again, I'd rather have an empty bank account now and not have my childhood plastered all over the internet. No amount of money I received has made what I've experienced worth it. While I don't have all the answers or many feasible solutions for this problem, I am proud to be one of the first child influencers in the state of Utah to speak against this issue.
So thankful that she's doing this. So important.
I don't want people to look at me and blame my unique circumstances with a mother in prison to the Franke criminal case. Family vlogging ruined my innocence long before Ruby committed a crime.
Family vlogging ruined her innocence long before Ruby Franke committed a crime. At this point, it's just like there's nothing better, more additional that I could add. I'm just underscoring what she's saying at this point.
I promise you that my experiences are not unique and are happening to child influencers all over Utah and the country. So let's tackle this issue before it becomes a bigger crisis than it already is. Thank you.
Again, we all know, this is one experience. People can have different experiences, but even like she said, with these kids who think that they're in control, who think that they understand what's going on, there's a strong likelihood that they don't. There may be, as she was saying, there might be a crisis, a legal crisis that comes in a big wave very soon. Time will tell. So Sherri shared the text of her statements on her Instagram, and as you might expect, the comment section had a lot to say. And some of it is not so pretty, or honestly, some of it just seems like a lot of brain rot and not thinking critically. I don't know. People don't like to think critically. Critical thinking is a skill that you really should polish, okay? I don't know how many times I have thought that when I'm looking at things online and I'm like, wow, that is just so far out of touch and not accurate. Just think a little more critically and you might be able to put together an actual useful thought. No particular order, I just got to pull them up here. Suddenly everyone knows everything in these comments. Just because other family vloggers seem fine doesn't mean they are, and doesn't make family vlogging justifiable. I agree with that. Just because someone looks okay doesn't mean they are. Here's another one. I love when people, nah. I watch a bunch of family YouTubers from Utah and they're just fine. This is how we Bingham and our life in Holland and Deitches fam are all family YouTubers in Utah, and it's just fine. And I'm going to ask the question because what Sherri said is very valid. How do you know they're fine? Y'all probably thought Ruby Franke's family was fine. I'm just saying, maybe they are fine. I really hope that they are. I hope that they are fine. How do you know? How do you know? As someone who watched you as a kid, about 10 years older than you, I agree with you and am sorry for the situation you were placed in. Sorry there was so many, myself included, that's very self-aware, who watched your family for entertainment. It's crazy how quickly sharing your kids became the norm and wasn't looked at as weird. As a mom myself now, I'm very cautious of what I share and have only private profiles as I've seen how it's affected you and others. Thanks for sharing and speaking up. You truly are the leader of a unique generation. Keep up the good fight. And I agree with that. It's a very unique generation, that is forming and growing and developing right now, the first of its kind. Again, family vlogging was not a thing that long ago. So yeah, here's another one. Family vlogs aren't all bad. Some kids enjoy it and come from loving families. Not everyone is out to hurt their children. Some families enjoy the memories. Some families enjoy making videos about their lives and can earn an income. It's not all bad or negative. Here's another one. I feel like people in these comments aren't reading what she's saying. She's saying people are posting their children and their embarrassing/traumatic moments for views. They're using their kids' experience as content so they can pay their bills. She's asking for a law to be put in place for specific consideration for the child, as they don't technically have the right to consent. Utah especially is very popular for the family vloggers and influencers. She's speaking for children who can't speak for themselves. That is all. And again, that's a very, I think, good observation. Kind of brings it back to the point, right? You know, people in the comments have a tendency sometimes to just get like really carried away. Not y'all. Y'all are good in the comments, right? We're all good. We're all wonderful. But yeah, people have a tendency to just like completely ignore the whole point of something, and then just, or they hear someone else say something and then they run with whatever. And it's like, yo, can you just like actually look at the source material? And yeah, she's asking for regulation. She's asking for protections. And I don't think that that is an unfair thing to ask for. So we're going to take a pause. We're going to step away from any specific story, any specific family vlog channel, anyone. And we're just going to kind of look at this from a global perspective. We're not talking about Sherri. We're not talking about Shay Carl, whatever. Global perspective, okay? I want to know where you stand. Like, do you think that all family vlogging belongs in the Suspool? Is it all bad? Again, we are setting Sherri's story over here. These are just questions now that I think what she brings up these questions that we should work to find answers for, so that we can find solutions to the very valid things that she was talking about. So thinking back, like while I was covering family vlogging in general, someone raised a question: is family vlogging always inherently corrupt? Like, is there any circumstance where someone can vlog or post their family where it's done in a healthy way, where it's safe for the whole family? Is there anything that is salvageable about the genre of family vlogging, perhaps with maybe some rules or regulations? These are just questions that I'm asking. It's very complex. Like, on one hand, people take photos and videos of their kids all the time and post, like on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook. They'll post things like, their kids' first day at school, or like winning a science project award, or, their birthday party, or like a Halloween costume. And I think most parents, hopefully, share photos like that or video clips like that with good intentions. So the question is any of that okay? Is it okay? Is it crossing a line? Is it not crossing a line? Is all of it crossing a line? Again, these are the questions. And let me ask you this, because again, I don't watch family vlogging channels. I never have. I doubt that I ever will, unless it's for research for something. But have you ever seen a family vlogger that you thought was doing it ethically? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because again, there could be, someone may have cracked the code and I just haven't watched it. You know what I mean? I'm just one person. You're just one person. Have you found someone who's cracked the code? Because I would be interested to know if that exists and what that looks like. That's what I'd like to know. What does that look like? Do you think that family vlogging should be banned? Do you think it should be regulated? Do you think that there's value in sharing these intimate portrayals of family life? And if so, kind of like, where is the line between transparency and violation of privacy? Do you think it's okay if it's just like happy moments and the kids are like totally cool? Yeah, you can turn the camera on, I'm fine. These are the questions that I have. So you let me know your thoughts in the comments. As Sherri said, her goal wasn't to offer solutions, but to shed light on the issue. But that begs the question, are there solutions, and what are they? We're all just kind of like trying to figure this out. Is fair compensation for the kid enough? And what about the family vloggers that have other goals outside of fame and money? The ones who say that they're posting to empower their kids and other kids. There are recording artists like Toby Nwigwe, who features his kids in a lot lot of his videos and makes being a family man and a Black father part of his central message in his music and in the videos. And on one hand, he uses his kids' names and faces without them technically, again, being able to consent. But on the other hand, he portrays a beautiful and important portrait of Black fatherhood that dispels much of the racism and bigotry that assumes, Black men are all absent fathers and all that bullshit. There are also advocacy accounts in the disability community, like Making Millie Stones and Our Huddy Buddy, that share what life is like raising their children with Down syndrome in order to advocate and destigmatize disability for their kids, as well as share resources and create community for other families in the disability community. And as people who are raising a child with Down syndrome have expressed to me, these social media accounts are a tremendous help for them, a tremendous help and guidance and comfort to them as they navigate the complexities of parenting a child with a disability. They also noted that parenting a child with a disability is often a full-time job where parents have to give up their careers and a lot of things to become caregivers, and income generated through social media can become a flexible option for them to be able to provide for their families, because doing other forms of employment is nearly impossible for them. But again, looking at it from, multiple angles, it can sometimes include personal medical information about the children that they may one day look back on and wish had been kept private. How do we know? So the ever-present question remains, how do we determine what is exploitative? Exploitative, I say it multiple ways. We're going with both. What is for entertainment and what is for educational purposes, or what is art? And at what point is it still centering the audience's needs for consumption over the child's need for privacy? And as an audience, are we willing to start being more conscientious of what we consume on the internet when it comes to family vloggers? Again, I don't have all the answers here. Just like Sherri was talking about, we're not here to just here's the exact solution. Know that anyone has that exact solution, and everyone's opinion is going to be different. That's why I'm just exploring some of these important questions. Okay, so we go from the global now back to Sherri's specific story. Let me be clear yet again. Sherri's testimony is true and her experience is valid, and I fully agree that there absolutely needs to be action taken in the family vlogging industry. Sherri is incredibly brave for speaking out, in my opinion. I hope in yours too. Everything she has gone through, from her parents' YouTube channel to estranging herself from her family to her mother's arrest and sentencing, it's all more than any one person should ever have to deal with in life. But Sherri is continuously taking back control, which is honestly very inspiring. And now she will be telling her story on her terms in her new book, The House of My Mother, published by Simon & Schuster. And if you are someone who likes to read, I would recommend grabbing this book and leave a supportive review for the book. And we wish all the best on Sherri's continual journey, and that she and the rest of her family find the support and healing that they need. Okay, Suspirians, time to step out of the dark waters of the Suspool, grab a towel and dry off. That's what I got. I know this one was obviously much more serious than some of the other stories, but if you want to hear more stories like this, or the dark, creepy, the unhinged, the kind of comical stories, be sure to subscribe to this channel and go ahead and just tickle the like button for more. And let me know in the comments if you have any stories that you would like to dip into, or if you have a deep dive request for my main channel. You can be sure to grab your very own brand new pieces from the Suspool collection and the brand new Unspoken collection. You've seen me wearing it here today, featuring the most beautiful birds flying up the arm and a staircase on the back, just featuring lyrics from my unreleased song Free. I shared on my main channel when the collection dropped, but I created this collection in a time of feeling completely broken after a very, very difficult year this year, medically and mentally, and some things that happened to me and some things that have been going on with my family that I haven't even talked about, that just left me completely broken. Like I had felt like I had been making progress going up these stairs, the stairs of life, if you will, trying to reach that ultimate place of freedom, that bird, that's what the bird represents, being able to just soar and reaching my goals. And I just felt like I got knocked back all the way down those stairs again this year. But, after sharing a bit about what was going on with all of you in our wonderful community, I was reminded by so many of you that even in these hard times, we get up, we keep going, we get back on those steps, and we keep fighting, because one day we will reach that top and we will soar, whatever that looks like for each of us. And I'm reminded, even with the lyrics of my song that I wrote quite a while ago about the same type of experience, the very fact that we move forward, no matter what that may look like, means that we're not broken like we thought. We are, in fact, unbroken. And I want to just wear that message close to my heart. That makes me feel empowered through all of the bullshit of life. And I am sharing it with any of you who might want a positive and empowering message to wear as well. I think there is so much negativity. Oh my gosh, what is happening in the world right now? Scary stuff going on. There's a lot of negativity, and I think that we honestly don't have enough empowering clothing in the world. So that's why I created this. The lyrics on the back say, I'm free, unbroken. Yes, I'm chosen. Sleep awoken. It's my moment. Fighting, climbing, live not dying. I'll be flying high. And I just want that for all of us. All right. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and now Bluesky. Yes. She has arrived on Bluesky. That's linked below. My Bluesky is theswoop. Those socials are where I post most often and also announce opportunities to have your thoughts featured in my deep dives on my main channel. I do have a brand new deep dive, a full length, a swoop, a doc out on my main channel. It's our own vibe. But yeah, that'll be linked below and in the pinned comment. I highly recommend you watch after this for a nice deep dive after our dip here. Huge thank you to our channel members. I appreciate all of you so much, and to our Patreon producers and Patreon members. I have been revamping the whole Patreon page and posting some special extended videos, some behind the scenes content, and I'm working on a new series that will launch on Patreon. More updates on that soon when we're ready to talk about it. I'm also posting additional unhinged videos. I call them the after school special. At University After School Special. Tons more content will be coming to my Patreon. You can also get your name in the credits of all the docs and videos I post on both channels. So if you would like to have exclusive access and become a member, it is linked below and in the description and pinned comment, all that stuff, y'all know. Be sure to check out Manscaped for the greatest grooming kit ever with the incredible free gifts, and tap my link or go to manscaped.com and use code SWOOP to get 20% off plus free shipping, and treat yourself and your special someone. You deserve it, honey. Thanks for coming for a swim. Have a good day out there. Keep it creepy, keep it cute, and I'll see you next time in the cesspool. Swoop!